Jamie Lee Curtis posted this picture and said, "Terror from the skies," with the flag of Israel. But then somebody pointed out to Jamie Lee that these aren't Israeli kids, they're Palestinian kids. And what they're looking at is a missile strike launched by the state of Israel. And rather than keep the picture up and change the caption to something in support of Palestinian children, Jamie Lee Curtis deleted the picture. Apparently, she doesn't think that Palestinian children are worth using her platform to support. She was only in favor of these kids when she thought they were Israeli children. Man, it's almost like celebrities are in a competition with each other to see who can post the most ignorant stuff about Palestine.
As someone who once exclusively sided with Israel, I have a message for those who still do. First, I come in peace, offering condemnation morally for the acts of Hamas. Not only were they brutal and bloodthirsty, but they stopped folks like you from seeing Palestine's side. Violence has this blinding effect where no matter how justified the perpetrators feel, the victims of it are hurt too bad to see any possible motivation. Therein lies a strategic advantage for those who are nonviolence activists like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And this was hard for me to admit, because I come from the more militant side of the Black struggle movement. Intellectual honesty had me begrudgingly admit that the wisdom of nonviolence is that when both sides are shooting, you can't see who the bad guy is. Not only can you not see who started it, you can't determine who has the moral high ground because it's submerged beneath the river of blood shed by both sides. In fact, the nonviolent wing of the civil rights movement just doesn't get the props it deserves for being a decidedly anti-terrorist movement. After enduring decades, even centuries of killing, bombing, everything from churches to children, the nonviolent commitment delineated clearly who the barbarians were in that situation and turned the tide of world opinion against those who pervaded. So shouldn't we be asking Hamas to take a nonviolent course of action? It's a good question. Had they been nonviolent and not done this attack, people would have continued to ask questions about the conditions that they're living in imposed by Israel. To be fair, I've heard it said that if Hamas put its weapons down, there would be peace in the Middle East. But if Israel put its weapons down, there'd be no Israel at all. With intellectual honesty, I have to push back on that, because historically it doesn't play out. Looking at the shrinking territory maps of Palestine, it looks a lot like the shrinking territory maps of the Native Americans here in the United States. And these maps are what started to change my mind. You do not see Palestinians settling Israeli land illegally, nor do you see Palestinians forcing Israelis to walk through their armed checkpoints. Israel is clearly the bigger, more powerful dog in this fight. Here's what's interesting. Folks like me did not grow up conditioned to question Israel at all. See, I grew up Black American and Christian, so I grew up watching the Ten Commandments every year. I had the Holocaust taught to me in my school books, and in church, I was taught about the righteousness of Israel. It was only in watching current events that I began to question what I had been taught all my life. And I noticed this interesting pattern. Most justifications for Israel are rooted in history. Most justifications for Palestine are rooted in current events. Can you imagine if there was like a Martin Luther King type figure in charge of Israel right now that looked at its weaponry and its armaments and said, you know what? We're not going to sink to the level of violence that has been perpetuated against us. The world needs to understand this barbarity. There would literally be factors from neighboring Arabic countries who saw that nonviolent approach and want to take Israel's side over Palestine once that high road was exposed for them to take as well, and not desire to wipe it off the map, as I've been told. And now we come to what I feel is the false either or in the narrative of Israel's existence. And that zero-sum talking point sounds like this. Either you believe in the Jewish people's right to defend themselves and for Israel to exist, or like the countries around it, you want to wipe from the map. I don't think that's what's going on here. The question is not whether or not Israel should exist, but should it exist like this? I believe that Jewish people are intelligent enough and capable enough to create something that looks better than what many agree is an apartheid state of the worst possible kind. Because with great power comes great responsibility, and according to what I was raised with, it is not Hamas who are God's chosen people, it is you. I was raised, it is up to the chosen people to bring God's kingdom of heaven to earth. But as it turns out, I reflected, you can never create heaven, making hell for somebody else. It is nothing but a fool's paradise. I think that God's chosen people would ask themselves, what is my part in co-creating this hell on earth for so many people, including myself? Because if you look at all of the things that Israel had a part in co-creating, whether it's the checkpoints or the Gaza Strip or the settlements, you must honestly ask yourself, has it made us any safer? As a father, I don't want anybody else's child to die on either side. And in the words of Dr. King, we are all too connected. this inextricable web of mutuality. And so the only way out of this hell is for somebody to lead all of us to the high road up. And why not the ones who are chosen to do so?
The solution of all of this is to solve the root of the problem, which is to give the Palestinian people them rights.
Palestine! Palestine!
Israel notified the UN to evacuate more than 1 million people last night to the south within 24 hours. Respectfully, where the fuck do you expect the Palestinians to go? You expect this whole entire red area of the strip to just migrate into the other side who has also been displaced right now? Let's look at the Gaza Strip together. You want half of the top of this Gaza Strip to just somehow migrate within 24 hours, more than 1 million people. Oh, and you've also cut their access to food, you've cut their water, you've cut their electricity, you've cut everything. You have the audacity to tell Al-Auda hospital to evacuate within 2 hours. You tell a hospital to evacuate in 2 hours. Why would a country do that? Because they probably want to airstrike them. And for some reason, asking people to not be genocidal towards Palestinians is controversial. Give me a break.